Hey, Sean G here from Chasing the Truth. You're about to get some of the best of samples of shows I've done over the last 5 years. God bless y'all and enjoy.
For people.
All right. So, what really got you started? What was the first real paranormal encounter that you had of your life that said, "Wait a minute, something is not up here. It's not what I'm seeing on the news. Is not what I'm seeing out and about, and everybody's believing."
Yeah, I had a dogman encounter with two of my friends, Jake and Alex, in a place called Sleepy Hollow. I actually talked about it on Dogman Encounters Radio with Vic Cundiff, and that was another great night. But the night going back, I was 12 years old. It was a golf league on Saturday, so I was sleeping over the Friday. And actually, if you read the last chapter in Erie Swamps, I got testimony from Jake and Alex talking about that night and a night that they previously had before that, like a couple months before. And I always heard the story of the Wolf Man. That was before, Dogman was ever a phrase. So we just knew them as werewolves. But over there in the Sleepy Hollow area, down in Brunswick, it's abandoned fishing area that is a diving spot too. It used to be a huge spot just when, like in the 50s and 60s, and now it's abandoned. And I believe there's ley lines that converge. Plus, there's a drive-in theater, so it holds a lot of strange stuff on top of deep caves in the den. But Jake and Alex, they saw something run across the street on their way home from the rec center, and this fireman was driving them home, and he saw it too, witnessed it. They thought it was a deer, but it ended up being some kind of werewolf creature. Of course, the Wendigo and the Deer Man have been brought up because they really did think it was like a two-legged deer just running for some reason. But you definitely don't expect that. But I heard the story of the Wolf Man for about 2 months, so I was just excited to sleep over there and check it out. Alex's house was loaded, had this nice basement with a walkout right into the backyard, huge glass door that you could just peer out. And we are playing pool for a while. We get this strange feeling, and Alex described it as rustling. I think it was more like inner energy, You can just feel when they step into your force field, just like an elephant can sense theirs from miles away. These things have echolocating, infrasound, and just all the characteristics and attributes that octopuses, dolphins, bats, and all the greatest of the nature's, gifts out there. But we felt this strange feeling, and we turn off the lights, and we move to the side, and we're peeking through this little window now to the side of the walkout basement. And we see this hulking figure down in the den. And I don't really remember seeing its eyes. I was young, and I've just done so much. But Alex remembers it clearly. It was glowing eyes looking at him. I was more just scared of the shape. I was like, oh, my God, it's finally down there. And it had me frozen. And that's why I believe maybe they have infrasound or even just strange energy. When you look someone in the eyes and like your love of your life or deja vu, you can make the electricity, zap a little bit. So it's just electronic waves, protons, neutrons. I'm big on we are particle form most of the time, and they are true beings of this earth. So they are able to access their waveforms. So I think this thing was able to watch us the whole time. I think he was just curious, enjoying the three teenage kids just having a ball. But it was a very short encounter, and then we end up going and watching a movie. We were so scared. After a while, we ended up going upstairs to the top floor to Alex's room. And then recently, I talked to his mom about it, and she said she used to hear man-like owl calls from the forest. And that was before,
Really?
a lot of these characteristics and everything was on the internet, But it's just crazy old times, and that, like, even abandoned warehouses and tunnels of the subway systems, those are hot spots for dogman type creatures. I don't know what they like about like the urban, the man-made structures. Of course they're in the forest, but they like homes too. So you have to be careful, going into abandoned homes and stuff. I'm always, risking it for the biscuit. Just even dealing with fairies and portals, I could step in to the floor, sink in, and then no one would ever know where I'm at. And I think that's happened to some people with missing 401 cases when they just vanish without a trace, out of cars, out of locked cars, when people can't move. there is so many strange things in this world. You know, boulders that could swallow up people, trees that talk and move. Like The Lord of the Rings is basically a documentary, guys. This is true life. The Grinch, that's a Bigfoot story. It's surrounded us our whole life. You're a Bigfooter even if you're not. And if you love baby Jesus, he was carried across a freezing river by St. Christopher. And I always looked at St. Christopher like he was a giant, like a titan, 25 feet tall. But recently I saw some articles about him having a dog face. So some of these dogmen might not even be all evil. That thing could have killed us, but it didn't. And it could have killed Alex and Jake when they were out in the backyard plenty of times playing soccer. Like, oh, man, these creatures have a side to them. They're just like a coin. There's two sides to them, just like a human. It's just how life will react with them. They might have some different DNA than us, but they're still under the sun and the moon, just like us. So they have to play by some kind of rules.
Okay. Well, I have had Linda Godfrey. Have you heard of Linda Godfrey on the?
Yeah, I've heard the name, and I'm
Okay.
sure I've probably watched a lot of videos. I'm a late night YouTuber,
Yeah.
It just all
Yeah.
blends together.
Well, just look her up. She was the Michigan dogman. She was behind that, and on the monsters thing on History Channel, I had her on the show, and I actually long before I got her on my show, I actually came up with what if you mentioned ley lines earlier. If you took a ley line map, or you took a map of, say, UFO sightings, which, you've got a plethora, a myriad of crazy sightings all over the place that are charted in various platforms. Also, Dogman, Bigfoot, all these cryptid creatures are charted or plotted out on maps. UFO sightings, also paranormal sightings. And you lay those maps one on top of each other. Have you ever looked at it and seen how correlated they are together?
Oh, yeah. It's eerily similar. Mention the Native American Indian mounds and the battlegrounds of the fallen wars, and even crime. It stirs people up. Why you think the Mothman's out in Chicago? Because things are happening. Disasters awaits. We have to be careful.
Oh, yeah. So have you been to Chicago and researched this Mothman thing?
Oh, yeah. I've went to Chicago on multiple occasions. It was a couple years ago, so it's not really the heavy flurry of recent times. But, of course, I heard the stories long ago. Mothman sightings have been overseas in Ohio. Of course, the Point Pleasant, West Virginia story. Down here in Florida in the Everglades, Mothman's been spotted. And, of course, I'm a big fan of Jeepers Creepers, Quasiculto, dragons. So I think there's some kind of link to all of it, because these are just mythological creatures that have some kind of root of reality around us, and there's definitely something to it. Thunderbirds and trolls. There's something to it.
The one cryptid creature that I have heard about a lot of stories about, especially from some of the indigenous people up in Canada. I actually had one guy that I had on my show, and he told me hours and hours. He had a weird format of how he told stories. So he started from his youngest days, and he would not skip ahead and tell me, hey, let's go to this story. Now I'll tell you in a little bit. But he got to the point where he told about these little people, cryptids, that was on some of the Indian lands up through there. And that, I was like, I don't want to meet any of these things. Or they need little people creatures down in Florida, around Georgia, Alabama.
Yeah, definitely. I actually just had a pretty nice TikTok video that popped off a little bit, interviewing Tristan Smith and his brother Cameron from Hidden Relief. They've had elf-like creatures in their home, and they live in a little trailer park, so there's multi-places of their whole family, so you get multiple encounters. But some six-legged creature was chasing their little cousin Wyatt. Tristan has a little house elf inside his house that dug a hole behind.
Hey folks, thanks for listening to this best stuff sample of some of my 5 years in doing this radio show podcast called Chasing the Truth. Please visit iamdarkwaters.com, or you can email me at seang@iamdarkwaters.com. And my numbers and links are in the description below. God bless y'all, and I'll Catch you on the flip side.